Okay, so somebody sent in a question, and I thought that other people may have it, so that I would answer it, to the group. So the person says, I have a ticket for the upcoming Kalachakra initiation with His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and plan to attend July 9 to 16. However, I live 200 or more miles from the nearest Tibetan teacher. Because I do not have a frequent teacher, I am trying to decide whether it would be appropriate for me to take the Kalachakra as an initiation or just take it as a blessing and wait until I live near a teacher to take my first tantric initiation, where I can develop my practice under the guidance of a qualified teacher. Opportunities are rare for an event like this with His Holiness, and I plan to be there either for the initiation or to take it as a blessing. So do you have any guidance regarding this? He says that he has taken the refuge with me, and then also the Bodhisattva vows with Chöden Rinpoche, but he hasn't had any tantric initiations before. And he is reading some books, about Kalachakra in preparation for it. And he's pondering whether, he says, I'm pondering whether I am prepared in my life for this step, but that is a separate issue. I think it's kind of the same issue. And and that he intends to move near the Abbey or to another, near another center where there's a qualified teacher in the not too distant future. Okay? So I think there might be several people out in the Ethernet who have this kind of question. So what His Holiness usually recommends in terms of taking tantric initiations is that someone has been a Buddhist and has upheld at least some of the 5 lay precepts for a period of 5 years before taking tantric initiation. And that gives somebody the chance to really stabilize their faith in the Dharma and stabilize their practice, and to know for sure that this is the path they want to follow. It also gives them some time to develop some understanding of renunciation, bodhicitta, and wisdom, which are really essential factors for taking a tantric empowerment. He also recommends that, after this 5-year period, when people do take tantric initiation, that they start with Kriya Tantra, which is the lowest tantra class, because those practices are much simpler. One takes the bodhisattva vows, but one doesn't have the tantric vows and the tantric commitments. And the sadhanas themselves are much quick, shorter and not as complex as those of like Kalachakra and of the highest Yoga Tantra. Then also in considering whether to take the Kalachakra as an initiation or as a blessing, one has to consider, this person has taken the Bodhisattva vows, but, if one hasn't done that before, taking the Bodhisattva vows and practicing with those for a period of time first before taking the Tantric vows. Because the Tantric vows are even more difficult to keep than the Bodhisattva vows, which are more difficult to keep than the monastic vows. And many people say, I can't keep the monastic vows. But they're eager to take the ones that are harder to keep. So we just have to really think about, what we're capable of doing and where we are. Also, one thing that's very unique about, I should finish this thing. Also, so one has to really think, do I have the ability to keep the tantric vows? With the pratimoksha vows, the monastic vows, the 5 lay precepts, we break those in terms of our body and speech. In other words, they regulate physical and verbal actions. The bodhisattva vows and tantric vows regulate physical and verbal actions, but also mental actions. And as we all know, mental actions are much more difficult to control than physical and verbal actions, which are already hard enough. So just to keep it in mind, I'm not trying to discourage people, but I don't want people to just think, oh, well, it's there, let's go take it. Because what I've seen happen afterwards when people do that is, and even people who have been Buddhist a long time, is sometimes after a while they think, well, Buddhism isn't for me. I have one person who was practicing for quite a long time, took Kalachakra and everything, and now is a Catholic nun. Yeah? So their refuge completely changed. I mean, she did it in a very, very respectful way. But some people just get very confused and angry, and then they say, I don't want these vows and commitments, and I feel they're a burden, and I don't understand what's going on, and, you know, they get very upset. And I think that's because they've rushed into things and taken things prematurely. Yeah? And so it's quite unfortunate when people get into that confused mental state and then give things up. And so that's why I think it's always better to develop things in a gradual way, so that our refuge is stable and our ability to keep precepts is stable and so on. Now, having said that, the unique situation about the Kalachakra is that it has to do with all of society. So His Holiness makes a very unique exception when giving the Kalachakra. In most initiations, one cannot come there as a spectator, as a neutral witness. You either take or you don't take. But in the Kalachakra, because it has to do with society in general, then he said it's possible for people to come there and observe the initiation as a neutral witness without actually taking it and without taking all the vows and the commitments, and you know, because also there's the commitment to do the succession guru yoga 6 times a day too. So that's a very unique situation with Kalachakra. So I think for people, you know, who aren't sure really about their level right now and whether this is something they want to take on, that they take it as, you know, as a neutral observer. And you still get a blessing, you know, because if you think of it, you're sitting there with His Holiness and the Sangha, and, you know, and it's still something quite important and special going on. And it's much better, you know, when you think of who you're creating collective karma with, you're not at a football stadium rooting for one team or the other to win. You know, you're not creating football karma with people who are football fans. You're creating Dharma karma with His Holiness and people who are, you know, very appreciative of the Buddha's teachings and seeking to actualize them. So that already is a quite powerful imprint. So it's just, you know, things to think about. And people should also consider, you know, if they take the succession guru yoga, that they have enough time each day to do that practice. Because when you take these kind of commitments, then fulfilling them is the most important thing you have to do every day. You don't promise His Holiness the Dalai Lama to do a practice and then wake up in the morning and say, oh, I don't feel like doing it, or I'm sick, or I don't feel well, or whatever. No, you do this practice no matter how you feel. I mean, you promise to His Holiness. And in the initiation, you are seeing His Holiness as the actual Kalachakra, as the actual Buddha. So, you know, we shouldn't make these promises like, oh, well, yeah, I can say anything I want and tomorrow renegotiate it. You know, that's not really that's not good for our own mind to have that kind of attitude. Okay, so, but also it depends on a person's age. You know, if somebody is elderly, if they're sick, if they don't think they're going to be alive much longer, They may want to take it because it may be their last opportunity to take it. But then other people may be younger and say, well, no, I His Holiness has set out these guidelines, and I look in my own self and I have to develop a better foundation in the practice first. So I'm going to take it as a blessing. Okay. What I find quite interesting is, around the Kalachakra is people, so many people, and you'll see when you go there, spend the first 4 days wondering whether to take the initiation or not, instead of listening to the teachings on the 37 practices of Bodhisattvas that His Holiness is giving. And His Holiness has said at previous Kalachakra initiations that his prime reason for going there is not to give the initiation, it's to give the teachings before the initiation. And he wants people to come to that. And then he laughs and says, but some people outwit me, they don't come for that, they just come for the initiation because they say they don't have enough time. But he said, the real purpose I come is to give the teachings. So don't waste the first days of the whole program in turmoil about whether to take the initiation or not. Pay attention to the teachings on the 37 practices, because that's what His Holiness says is his main purpose for coming. Okay? Because how many of us, are really capable of understanding the Kalachakra? I mean, for most of us, it's a thing of planting seeds. Yeah? So even if we take it as an initiation with the vows and commitments, yeah? So we really have to, see where our level is and how best to benefit our mind given the opportunity we have, and to benefit our mind over the long term, and also how best to be a benefit to others. Okay, so it's everybody's personal decision. I'm not going to tell people yes or no or maybe or whatever. People have to think. But I think you should make an informed decision, and not a decision that is under peer pressure, which you have once everybody gets there, which is, oh, this is such a high initiation and a high lama, and it's your only chance, and and people aren't giving the whole picture of what's entailed when they have that kind of excitement. So I think people should make informed decisions, because when you do, then your decision is steady and firm, and you will keep to it, and you won't regret it. Whereas if you make decisions under peer pressure, often we re-examine those later. Okay.